Giselle, thank you so much for joining us here at the Bentonville Film Festival. I'm excited to talk about your piece, Bullfighter, which I have had the distinct pleasure of getting to watch in advance of this conversation. But for the viewing audience, what would you like them to know about the piece?
First of all, thank you so much for watching and for having me. I've had such a great time at this festival. The Bullfighter is a farce of a comedy, and it's I've always been fascinated by the idea of like sticking an extraordinary person or somebody who's been historically extraordinary, like a bullfighter, just as a framework, in a very ordinary world, and how they kind of navigate everyday life after experiencing that glory.
Excellent. And with this piece, it was a very unique situation, but you also have some twists in there, and I don't want to give any of them away, but it's not as simple as that. Where did the idea and the concept come from on this?
So the story, I guess I should give a preface, is about a retired bullfighter that gets a job as a downtown Los Angeles parking flag attendant to kind of get back in touch with his matador roots, and I spent lockdown living in downtown Los Angeles, which was pretty gnarly, and it felt like a weird ghost town, and I would just kind of stare out the window and look at these parking attendants wave their flag to nobody, because there was nobody to park there. There was nobody working there. Nobody was walking the streets anymore. They were just like kind of killing time in the breeze, like moving this flag so beautifully and methodically, and I was like, God, they'd be wonderful bullfighters. Yeah.
I love that. Have you actually seen a bullfight before?
No, I don't like. I don't like killing animals for the sake of
everything up until the end of the fight.
Right. I think there is something so oddly like glorified about this like last acceptable spectacle to sacrifice an animal so publicly for what? I don't know, like tradition, custom, that kind of is
machismo?
Yeah, exactly. There's just like, I love that people, or men specifically, create environments, artificial environments, to perform heroism. And I'm like, for what? Literally for what? But I don't know. I find that kind of ridiculous, and I think like the way sometimes this like myth of the male genius, and when people glorify men and their stature of power, it kind of makes for insufferable people.
It can, and you have some delightful cast, and one of them does bring a little bit of the insufferable to light in the piece.
Which I love him so much. I'm like, I kind of love that like delusional, like I've experienced, I feel like everyone kind of experiences the blinding of ego, and this like especially like directing is such a historically masculine role, and assuming that role with my own femininity is kind of challenging, because you have to lead, and you're brought up to, like, admiring all these like male directors that have historically been tyrannical, and you kind of grapple with like, how do I navigate that while still creating like a safe environment, and a fun environment, because it's just a movie. You're just making a movie.
And with your lead actor, I have to say he did a wonderful job of being this strong, masculine, me man.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he had the softer, smooth flow that matadors have. It's almost ballet.
Yeah.
In his movements, when he's in his sphere of being, said bullfighter, he has that fluidity.
Well, he's Ricardo Chavez, who plays Felipe Fernando de la Fernand, my mythical bullfighter. He's a trained swordsman, so he knows, it's almost like ballet. The choreography of like fighting with a sword feels kind of like a choreography, and it's very elegant. And I despite his like pretty powerful demeanor of being like a big dude, he's very elegant and graceful, and I just thought he was perfect, and I felt so lucky that I got to work with the casting director Carla Houle, who is like an icon in Latin cinema. she brought him and Edgar Caballero Velasquez, who plays Carlos, the parking attendant.
Carlos.
Yeah.
I want Carlos for my best friend.
I know, he's amazing. He's a natural comedic genius. Everything he does is hysterical, and he doesn't realize he's being funny. That is just the way he is, and he is a professional valet for a living. He is a valet at Warner Brothers, and I'm like, I just couldn't. He was just so perfect, and I want him to be a star because he's so naturally funny.
It's life imitating art.
I want to put him in everything I do.
You should. He's your muse now.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah.
And with this experience, is there anything you wish another filmmaker or mentor or teacher or life had taught you before you took this project on?
Yeah, I've had a lot of really great mentors who have kind of just allowed me to just be myself, and I think, especially with film, it's kind of like everything is a concoction of everything you've ever grown up watching and admiring, and you kind of pull from everything and blend it all together, and that's suddenly your voice. And I've been really privileged to have incredible film professors that really have nurtured that, like, I wouldn't even say originality, but just like selective curation of everything I've ever, like, Michael Mann's Heat was always on in my house. I just loved that, like, masculine, like, sexy energy, and the idea that, like, these guys never run out of bullets somehow. Like, their guns are never ending, and every time you cut back to them, they have a bigger weapon. And it's just those movies I've always found. My poor dad, he only has daughters, so I was like the one he would watch the, like, masculine films with. My sister was like the car person for him. I don't care about cars, but with me, I was like his, like, bro cinephile friend, and it was always like Michael Mann's Heat, just the, like, Man on Fire. If you ever watch that film on mute, it is the funniest movie ever made, because it's just like Denzel Washington can't walk 2, like, steps without, like, 30 shots, and just like, and it's just so intense, and you're like, this is like iconic. This is just like iconic comedy, but then obviously with the whole ambiance of the film together, it's just like so cinematically stunning. And I don't know, I'm not even answering your question. I'm just like, basically my mentors have been all the films that I've loved watching growing up, and just studying them a lot of the times on mute, so I don't get distracted by the, like, how amazing they are. And just like I like seeing how many shots visually it takes to make a point. And that's really helped me study filmmaking, because I feel like I'm not visual, and I have such a hard time in prep, because I'm like, oh God, like, having to decide what the visual path of this journey is, and, like, trying to ground that through a character's lens has helped me a lot. Yeah, sorry, I'm rambling.
No, that's okay. That's okay. And this is, of course, this is a short film. Is this something you're wanting to keep as a short, or you're wanting to add additional shorts, or you're wanting to turn into a feature someday?
I really love this as a short story. To me, it feels like if Don Quixote was born today, and, like, how he would navigate reality of, like, downtown Los Angeles, I like making short films for the sake of, like reading a short story. I have feature ideas that I am looking for money for, so I'm very focused on those for features. And this one is more of a showcase of, like, the kind of comedies I want to make.
And you have a powerful feminine voice in this, but as you said, you like the violence, you like the action. I mean, I'm totally, if there's a car chase, I'm a happy girl. But you're giving it a feminine edge to it, and that's a voice I'd like to see more of.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I don't know. I just like Point Break. Catherine Bigelow's Point Break is just so sexy, and it is so funny visually, because it is this, like, it's like showcasing masculinity through a feminine lens of, like, kind of, it has that, like, absurdity to it that, like, I feel like a lot of women internally joke about, because it's just like men create, like, the immediate escalation into violence in displays of masculinity and heroism are so insanely funny to me, and it's always at the cost of women and children. And I'm like, if you guys just learn how to talk.
But they always want to protect the women and children.
It's hilarious. And I'm just like it's just so, it's just the fact that we still have war today is kind of like embarrassing as a civilization. Like the fact that I have a smartphone and there's war, it's just like, it doesn't correlate to me. I'm just like, we're so globalized. I don't understand why violence is still the immediate answer and response. So yeah, I think a lot of my comedy ends up being kind of violent because it is so ridiculous to me.